The Ravens are 0-1. We'll talk about all that. NFL Week 1 Sunday is over, and the game tonight. All that and much more on this episode of the Purple Rain Podcast. Yes. The Ravens unfortunately are 0-1, but there's a long season ahead of us. Thank you for coming through to episode 261 of the Purple Rain Podcast. You know what time it is. Arthur Jones episode of the Purple Rain Podcast. The Sam Mustipher, the Nick Samak, the Luke Bowanko, Hronis Grasu, Everett Lindsay. Yeah, I'm going down that
You
far.
dug deep. Yeah.
Episode of pulled up from this. Actually, I'm sorry, Arthur Jones for 1 year in 2010 episode of the Purple Rain Podcast. There'll be another one. But thank you all for coming through this episode of the Purple Rain Podcast. A whole lot to talk about. A whole lot of positives and negatives to go over. Yesterday we kind of touched on it, but didn't go fully in depth. But thank you all for coming through this episode. You can follow us on Instagram at the Purple Rain Podcast. You can follow this guy over here on X or on Instagram at Sutton. You can follow me on Instagram at simplyas10.prod or on X at simplyas10. Most importantly, our sponsor, Manscaped. Yes, the new products are on the way. Cannot wait to see them and share them with you. So if you want to get your hands on them or, want something else from them, code PRP. 20% off your whole order. Free international shipping. Doesn't get much better than that. But, son, it is almost the end of week 1. Still one more game to be played, which we'll obviously talk about. Maybe talk about some plays, who knows. But the Ravens are 0-1. All right. Couple of days sit on it. We touched on it briefly yesterday. But after watching the performances around the league, all right, and this actually, it's a big thing to talk about. How do you feel about it? Now after watching these teams, some of our rivals dropping games, some of the bigger teams kind of putting up stinkers. How are you feeling now?
Yeah, I did notice that there was a lot of week 1 rust, right? There weren't a whole lot of big numbers put up by really any of the quarterbacks yesterday, and that was something that I took away. Now, I mean, what I will say is, I don't know if you experienced this when you were growing up, Alex. When I was growing up, and I would take home a test that I did bad on, like I got like a D on the test or something like that, and then I go and I tell my mom, and I say, "Well, the rest of the class got a D as well, and some of them even worse." She'd tell me, "I don't care about the rest of the class. I care about you." You know what I mean? And that's kind of how I'm feeling with these Ravens right now. Like I did kind of take stock of the lack of performances yesterday that I saw, but I'm still kind of looking at this Ravens team a little bit sideways, looking at John Harbaugh a little bit sideways, and Todd Monken, and in some ways Lamar Jackson. You know, everybody I think deserves a little bit of blame. I think everybody needs to be better, and we'll talk about it. We'll talk about it. But I am feeling good. I am feeling optimistic. I will say that we talked about that yesterday in our pre. NFL Sunday stream that we did, kind of like impromptu. So if you caught that, shout out to you. But yeah, we talked about it a little bit there. Like there were some positive things that you could take away from that game. So overall, I'm not feeling too bad, but I do want to see how the Rain Gang is feeling. Let's see, you guys are here in the live chat. We got Zico Kage in the house as PRP. What is good, family? What's going on, Zeke? Appreciate you for coming through. Always, man. Always. Mod K-Dog in the house, holding it down. Hashtag replay gang. Yeah, if you're not watching this episode 261 of the Purple Rain Podcast live and you're part of the hashtag replay gang, thank you so much for joining us here on this episode. And yeah, make sure you guys like the video as well. Like the video, subscribe to the channel. You guys already know the drill. The season is here. It is upon us. We're doing review episodes now. So like the video, guys, so we can have a lot more content where this is coming from headed your way. Let me see who else is in here. Tanja Bowman says, "What's up, PRP? Kadarius Toney went to Cleveland. At least they know how to keep stacking up." Yes, I did see that right before we hopped on stream here. The Cleveland Browns went ahead and picked up Kadarius Toney, but I don't necessarily think that it's a wide receiver problem that they have. I think it might be a quarterback issue, to be honest with you, from what I was seeing yesterday. And again, week 1 rust, and take it with a grain of salt, whatever. But yeah, I think it might be a quarterback issue. We got RJ in the house, has made the live stream after being at the game. Man, I thought we had it even though we did not play our best. Yeah, so you did go to the game. Wow. So how was that experience for you? How was that experience?
Yeah.
Let us know down below in the chat. We would love to know. in Arrowhead. That's in enemy territory. It was a close game, went all the way down to the very, very last play. How was that? I'm sure it was electric in there. Let me see. Lisa Ann in the house says, "Hey Tanja, what's up with you?" So yeah, shout out to Tanja, shout out to Lisa. What's going on, ladies? Thank y'all for coming through to this episode of the show. We got Dylan in the house as well. Says, "What's going on, fellas? How we doing?" Doing well, Dylan.
What's
Doing
going
well,
on?
Dylan. Yeah. How about you, man? How you doing? Let us know. Let us know. He also asked, either y'all going to be at any games this year? Yeah, for sure. For sure.
Yeah.
Alex and I, we always end up finding our way to a couple games a season, you know. So yeah, we'll be there. We'll be there, and we'll let you know which ones we're going to too. Let me see. What's up, Rain Gang? I got to send you a voice message, Sutton, because you stay pronouncing my name wrong. Is it Kwani?
Could be.
Okay, maybe, yeah. Send me that voice message. I don't want to keep getting your name wrong, bro. I'm sorry about that. Okay, so of course, like you said, Alex, lots to talk about. Ravens are 0-1. We were looking forward to this matchup pretty much all offseason, or at least when they, dropped the schedule. We had this one circled, week 1 against the Chiefs, running it back, AFC Championship game. We got to get that monkey off our back, and that's going to be huge for this upcoming season. Some people even called it a must-win for the Ravens. And in hindsight, I don't necessarily see it as a must-win. I mean, it is a long, hard, grueling football season. I project by about week 6, week 7, this is all behind us, right? And depending on where we are record-wise and how the team looks, offense, defense, are we gelling? Are we meshing together? Are we really hitting our stride? That's what's going to be more important than a week 1 win or loss. I'm not trying to cope. This is not me as a Ravens fan just coping here, because, I mean, I give the hats off to the Chiefs. That's a damn good football team. They got one of the best, if not the best, quarterbacks of all time. So it's really tough to beat them, no matter how much vengeance you have towards them. That's a damn good football team, right? So we want to go ahead and we want to kick off our talk about the Ravens versus Chiefs game with a new segment. We're going to go ahead and debut a new segment here in season 4 of the Purple Rain podcast, episode 261 to be specific. In this segment, we want to call it, it's going to be called Name of the Game. Name of the Game. That's right. So in this game here, in this segment, rather, Alex and I will both come up with a title that we think suits the previous Ravens game best, right? So it's going to be a very short, succinct title. It's going to force us to be kind of, target exactly how we felt about the game. And then we're going to break it down and tell you how we came up with these titles, how we came up with these names of the game, rather. So if you're watching us here live, shout out to you. You're here for the debut of a brand new segment, and we can't wait to try it out. So I'll go ahead and kick us off here. So the name of the game for the Ravens at Chiefs, where the Chiefs won, of course, 27-20 over the Ravens. I'm going to say it's Curse of the Playmaker. Curse of the Playmaker. And yes, this one has to do with one Lamar Jackson, Ravens quarterback number 8, 2-time MVP. The reason why I say Curse of the Playmaker is because I kind of saw, and this is kind of talking about like the criticism that Lamar Jackson took after the AFC Championship game and after this week 1 loss against the Chiefs. Both losses against the Chiefs, right? People can say all they want about Lamar Jackson. Oh, you know, he can't win the big games. He chokes. He's a choke artist, whatever, right? Even in the games he loses, these big games, so the last 2 games to be exact, he has made big play after big play after big play. Why? Because Lamar Jackson is classified as a playmaker. He's probably one of the best playmakers, if not the best playmakers in this entire football league, right? So the curse part of it comes in when you lose a football game, even though you made big plays, you get judged just as harshly for the plays that you do not make, right? You're a playmaker. So even when situations are less than ideal, so if you go back to the final play, right, the final couple plays of the last game, right, of the week 1 loss, when the final play, Chris Jones has one-on-one with Justice Hill, right? That's not ideal for Lamar Jackson to have Chris Jones bearing down your face, right, a second after the snap. You can go to the play before that where he misses Zay Flowers, and somebody missed a block. He's got a guy in his face. He can't really throw it on a straight line to Zay Flowers because that pass could get tipped, it could get intercepted, whatever could happen. So he had to kind of throw the ball where he threw it, and it ended up being an incomplete pass. Everybody sees it. Oh, just Lamar missed the throw. They don't really care. They don't care if the situation was less than ideal. You're a playmaker. That's what playmakers do. And that's kind of the curse that's kind of sits on Lamar Jackson. That's why I call this the curse of the playmaker. Also because I mean, Lamar Jackson had almost 400 total yards of offense in that game? Almost
Yep.
400 total yards of
Yep.
offense. That is him putting on a cape and trying to play hero ball. This guy in week 1 was trucking guys straight up, trucking safety straight up, going out of bounds. That's how you can tell this guy is literally the epitome of a playmaker, and that's the curse that kind of sits on him because just for as many great plays that he does make, the ones that he doesn't make are just highlighted that much more because people don't care about the situation that you're in if it's less than ideal. So I'm gonna go with curse of the playmaker for mine. You guys can let me know in the chat if you agree with that, if you resonate with that. If you're watching this after the fact, you're part of the hashtag replay gang, let us know down below in the comment section. Make sure you like the video as well, guys. We appreciate that. Okay, so Alex, what did you think of that though? What did you think of that assessment? Is that fair or no?
Very fair. And we talked about it a little bit yesterday. How he made all the plays that he needed him to, but when push came to shove and gotta make that one play, either tie or win the game, it was missed, and that's why that play's getting talked about more than him breaking out of the just tackles, getting out of the pocket, making moves. That's kind of like you said, the curse of the playmaker. I think it's a fantastic title, and it gets straight to the point. You can take it so many different ways, but for the Ravens, I think it describes them and their quarterback perfectly. So I really like it.
Yeah, yeah. I appreciate that. I kind of spent a lot of time mulling over that earlier today. I was just like, thinking like nobody really cares about the hardships that Lamar Jackson has to face. Nobody really cares about Daniel Faalele practically being a turnstile, right? Rosengarten getting blown up in his very first NFL game, just things like that. The entire right side of that offensive line was super shaky, super shaky. Before we get into anything else, we do have a super chat donation. We got the 2-piece in the chat coming from D. Was, making it rain here on episode 261 of the Purple Rain podcast. Thank you so much, brother. We appreciate that. It says, what is your opinion on the referee Sean Hockley that night?
Can we get back to this real quick? Because mine kind of entails with this.
Sure. Yeah.
Okay,
Absolutely.
A little bit.
Yeah.
We won't
bring you back up. Yeah,
Us.
we'll bring it back up, D.O.S. Yeah. Thank you for the donation, bro. All right. So,
Thank
Alex,
you.
take it
Thank
away.
you. And it's a perfect segue. Yeah, so mine is Game of Inches. And we can talk about this in many different ways. You can talk about it first downs. I'm going to talk about it, with Isaiah Likely first and foremost. So let's play the game. Game of inches.
Okay.
Foot on the line. Game of inches. Inches. I don't know how many inches, but inches. Lamar rolling out, stopping, looking, finding Isaiah Likely. But I'm going to go to the other game of inches. That's Ronnie Stanley, our left tackle. And that entails with the referee, Sean Hockley. Inches too far back. How many penalties was that? I want to say 4 or 5. Oh, Mr. Ronnie Stanley.
Yeah.
I believe there was 4 or 5 all yesterday of the illegal formations, whatever it was. And I saw one. I think it was Tristan Wirfs. He was like a full foot behind his guy. And it just was, to me, kind of the bigger problem, I think, with the NFL, and it's just the inconsistency of the refereeing. And I saw it in a lot of games yesterday. Phantom roughing the passers, no call PIs when they should be called, and it kind of what took over to me. I think that was the main point, because I went on Twitter Friday morning. I saw 30 other fan bases kind of question themselves over the refereeing, and I'm not blaming it at all on the referee. Like, I don't think we're the better team that night. It was just inconsistency, and that's kind of what I'm worried about, because it's week 1, and John Harbaugh and Ronnie Stanley said themselves that during preseason, during training camp, that these NFL referees at the practice, and they said, that you wouldn't get called for that. And game 1, you get called 3 or 4 times in the first drive. So that was mine. It's not the best. I'm sorry I came out with on a limb, but more of it was with Isaiah, like, his foot on the out of bounds. But man, that right there, it showed a lot. I got a lot from it, and Isaiah Likely hype train is just gonna keep on going, inbounds or not inbounds. So mine will be better next week, I promise you. Came out within about a minute, but that was mine. So I was just watching these games yesterday, and just I don't know, it was very inconsistent. That's all. That's just the NFL. Very, very inconsistent. You don't know what is a penalty, what isn't a penalty, and it really affects the game.
Yeah, yeah. I mean, and just kind of furthering your points there. I mean, I didn't really have too many quarrels with the refs other than the inconsistency, like you said, for the illegal formations, because there were a couple no calls that the Ravens could have been called for, but they just weren't. You know, like the late hit from Roquan out of bounds. That's one that
Yeah.
comes to mind, and I think maybe a couple of others as well. Not too many, but a couple of others too. So it's super hard. I mean, when you talk about game of inches, anytime that you have, you know, 60-plus-year-old referees like calling a game that so much is riding on, you're gonna have human error. I mean, just with humans in general, and I don't even mean to be like ageist or anything like that, but like the NFL knows, I think that they could be refereeing this game a lot tighter and a lot more efficient, right? But I think it's just like kind of like having like the chain gang crew and like the referee crews. It's kind of like a tradition. It's a staple of the NFL, and I think they're protected by the higher ups in the NFL. NFL, if I'm being honest with you, so that's, you know, I don't think that there's going to be any real changes when it comes to like referee discipline and things like that anytime soon. Anytime soon. So I kind of have to take each referee job, DWAS, with a grain of salt, and that's what I do. That's what I did in this game. Like you said, Alex, I don't think that we were the better team that night. I don't want to say we didn't come out prepared. I just think that we got out coached again, and Lamar Jackson going what 86 yards on that final drive with like a minute to go. You talk about a 2 minute drill, man, with no timeouts.
Right.
Go 86 yards in Arrowhead to try to force overtime. That or win the game potentially.
Loudest
That
stadium.
was in the loudest stadium. Week 1 just got their banner dropped, just got their rings. Those fans have been itching for football since February, right? Um, and even Harbaugh said it today. There were a couple miscues down the stretch in that game because of just how loud it was in that stadium. And just for Lamar Jackson to kind of put the team on his back and get all the way down there and just not be able to make that final play, again, curse of the playmaker, man. And game of inches, they go hand in hand. They go hand in hand. So that is name of the game. We
Yeah.
want to go ahead and also bring up some. Let's see. We can bring up the box score stats from this game. Kind of take some context from just kind of the stats. So looking at this, Alex, is there anything that really hops off the screen to you? Like, wow, like we should have done this more, or wow, I didn't expect that, or what are you really seeing here?
First and foremost, the Baltimore rushing. That's number one. Lamar Jackson, 16 carries for 122 yards. Derrick Henry, 13 carries, 46 yards. Oh, you might want to pause that video so we don't get taken down real quick. The
For sure.
Commanders, Buccaneers, because you know how the NFL is, can't be showing their
Oh
stuff
yeah,
to take us down.
they're all
But
over it. Good
it's
call.
got to be Lamar rushing it. And hearing what John Harbaugh said today about Derrick Henry, oh yeah, we're not going to give him 30 rushes. That's fine, but you can't sit here and not give him any in the second half. He had what I want to say 4 or 5 on the first drive. Let's say he
Yeah,
had 4. I'll give you the benefit of the doubt. So he has 9 carries. The rest of the 3 quarters and 10 minutes. That's not
yeah.
how we will win games. And when you build the offense around running the ball, and you give the guy who you just gave 10 million a year to 13 times in a close game when we were never down more than 10 points, that's not how you win games. And
Well,
that's really what stands out to me. And it's
you
just
know,
Lamar doing so much more with less.
yeah, yeah. But like, you know what happened is so crazy, Alex, because it feels like what happened in the AFC Championship game happened in that Week 1 loss that we just saw.
Yep.
You know, the Ravens had well, it was a little bit different because in the AFC Championship game, the Chiefs came down and they scored first, and that spooked the Ravens, right? That kind of threw us off from the jump, right? But in this game, we scored first, right? And so that kind of gave us some confidence. It's like, okay, yeah, Derrick Henry was the one who scored the touchdown too. We're gonna start rolling with him. Awesome. But then the Chiefs turn around and score in like what, 2 minutes, 3 minutes, something like that. They barely even take any time off the clock. They just march right down the field. Next thing you know, Xavier Worthy end around touchdown. You know, and I think that really messed with the psyche of our coaching staff, and they kind of said, okay, that's right, we're playing the Chiefs again. That's right, we have to make sure that we go blow for blow with them. You know, and if that means like throwing the football more and keeping Derrick Henry out of the game plan, then so be it. But I think that that's exactly what happened because the same thing happened in the AFC Championship game.
I want to know how many games we've won when Lamar throws over 40 times. The only one I can think of is the Colts game.
Yeah.
Like, I think that's anywhere in the NFL. Throwing over 40 times is not a good look. It means you're down.
And running less than 18, right?
Right. You know what I mean? Like, it was just frustrating. And like I said, it's only game one, but that's got to be fixed. I'm going to go on, if we can going down real quick to the Baltimore receiving, he's got to do whatever Zay Flowers got, like 5 or 6 catches for 30-some yards. It's your number one receiver. 6 receptions for 37 yards on 10 targets. You got to use him better. He's, like you said, you can't throw to him behind the line of scrimmage all those times. I think he had probably 4 of them were behind the line of scrimmage. You can't do that. It's just not winning football. I don't like that whatsoever. But yeah, that's what really stands out to me offensively. And then defensively, Rashee Rice 7 receptions, 103 yards. Malik Harrison, let's not have him on receivers. You can't do that at all. And here's look at the pass chart.
Yeah.
1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12 behind the line of scrimmage.
That's a lot of throws behind the line of scrimmage. Especially when you're playing against, teams who are going to want to load the box against you, right? They're going to be up front closer to the line of scrimmage just naturally. I just don't really see that being the answer. And the reason why I was saying, Zay Flowers specifically, I don't think that he should be really getting the ball too much behind the line of scrimmage is because, I mean, he is a smaller receiver for one, right? And I know he has kind of like a physical bone in his body where he doesn't like shy away from contact in the way that Hollywood Brown did, but he's still a smaller guy, right? So we've seen him get lifted off the ground and kind of knocked around and things like that. So he really tries to use that joystick that he kind of has, that quickness, right? That lightning fast ability. But normally what happens is he can make one guy miss, but then there's another guy barreling down who takes him down, or he slips trying to dance just a little bit too much. And then before you know it, he's down behind the line of scrimmage. And we saw that a lot of times, and we don't really expect him to run through guys, like maybe like a Deebo Samuel would, or maybe some other gadget guy around the league. But I just think that Zay Flowers should be getting the ball more so in the intermediate area of the field, where he can kind of like catch the ball, wiggle, make one guy miss, kind of similar to like Isaiah Likely, but of course a lot quicker, and then just kind of turn up field, and run straight, for crying out loud. Like, run straight. You have speed, Zay Flowers. Like, you can get around these guys. You can beat them around the corner, these safeties, a lot of these DBs. Maybe not all of them, but you have speed that can threaten those guys. So like, I'd like to see a lot less of the dancing around and just kind of like getting upfield and like, being north. Let's just get north. Like, so much, forget all the east and west stuff. Like, let's just get north. That's what it needs to be about. I think that's what the our wide receiver coach needs to kind of coach him up on a little bit more. And again, I'm no freaking football savant myself, but like, that is kind of like clear as day, because I've mentioned it before. I mean, we saw it in the AFC Championship game where he catches that deep ball right late in the game, and then he gets up and he's almost about to run by the guy. If he just kind of steps on it, he could probably get by the guy, but no, he has to like cut back and then cut back another time, and because that's just what he does. So yeah, man. But just looking at this pass chart overall, more plays downfield, but this has a lot to do with the offensive line as well.
I think one thing too about Zay Flowers, like I said, I love him. Mm-hmm. He came out too emotional. He was talking a lot in the first quarter. I'm like, can we not do this?
Yeah.
Did you notice that too?
I did, yeah.
And I was like, can we not? Like, I was like, listen, save it for when we're up, when you make a big play and we're up 7. But I was like, last time this happened, I was expecting a penalty again. I was like, they're going to get him on a 15-yarder. I'm like, it's not going to be good. But thankfully, he didn't. But I want to see more maturity. And the one thing too about this game, we got bullied. I don't know if you saw the clips going around of, Kelsey hitting our guys. What's his face? Creed Humphrey laying the boom. I'm like, what we do to teams got done to us. And, that was a nice punch in the mouth in week 1. A little reality check, but can only learn from it. And then going on to what you said about, Zay Flowers. Yeah, like intermediate stuff. And same with Bateman. I don't want to see him running deep routes. That's not who he is. And we consistently keep on doing it. The one catch he made, the 10-yarder, that was beautiful. That's who he is. Beautiful route, stops, giving the ball, catches it, full hands, first down. That's like what we're not using him to his strength, and it's been like that. And it's just very frustrating. So I hope we can fix this, clean this up. Been saying that, but yeah, on to next week, I guess. That's really what I'm looking forward to. On to next Sunday.
Yeah, let's see what you guys are saying here in the chat. We got Dre in here. What's going on? Dre says, I want to see Bateman get involved in games earlier. Yeah, man, this is important. You have to get, especially a receiver, is one of the most important offensive skill player positions that you have to get rolling early. You have to build their confidence. You have to get them in a rhythm. It's just, you just got to do it. And we never intentionally try to get Rashad Bateman going. I mean, because just by nature of this offense and the totem pole of pass catchers, he's probably third, fourth option, you know? Like it's like that now. You got Mark Andrews, you got Isaiah Likely now, who's emerged as a star, and Lamar Jackson trusts the hell out of him. You've got Zay Flowers, of course, and then you've got Rashad Bateman. So, and we've always talked about it. Rashad Bateman is like kind of like that on schedule, on time receiver. He's gonna burn his guy, and if he's not the first look, then you're going to miss one of the best opportunities on the field right there. And like, that's just naturally what happens each and every time. And it's so frustrating to see because you can see the clips that they take from the all 22 after the games where like Bateman's burning his guy down deep and like Lamar's just simply not looking his way, so it's a problem, man. It's a real issue. I thought that they would be a little bit more intentional about kind of fixing that in the offseason. And they talked about it. They talked about wanting to have Bateman more and more involved, but it's just, it doesn't really seem like that is the play. It doesn't really seem like it. It seems like we're trying to force feed Zay Flowers and being something that he's not. So that's really on Todd Monken, and of course I'll pass some blame on to John Harbaugh as well, since he is the head coach at the end of the day. We'll see how they adjust from that, but I absolutely agree, Dre. I do want to see Bateman get more involved earlier in games.
Yeah, I want to see something different. Like it's obviously the same offense, but I want to see a little bit more creativity. And really didn't see it. Yeah, it just I don't know. It's like we're doing the same thing over and over again, like last year with Bateman.
Yeah.
Like you say, see all these strides and you hear about it in training camp, but it takes you how long for him to get his first target? I think his first target was just Lamar getting taken down, him throwing at his leg, so it's not a intentional grounding. We got his full first target, I think, in the third quarter in his catch, like his actual target. So it's frustrating to say the least. Hopefully we see something different. I do want to bring up this comment though from Daniel Powell. Would y'all use Henry in the pass game like how they use Justice? This is a lovely comment, and I'm going to say yes because, like you brought up, I think yesterday, how predictable we got with Justice Hill in the game or with Derrick Henry in the game. Justice Hill in the game, it's more than likely a pass. Derrick Henry in the game, more than likely a run. And that's something that we have to, get cleaned up because it's a professional NFL team. You cannot be that predictable where if this guy's in the game, it's this, and if this guy's in the game, it's that. I would love to see him, use him in the pass game. He can block. We've seen him take screens before. Or you can just send him out there and kind of keep the defense honest. But you brought up that one, what was third and whatever, and we bring in Henry and they just stuff the line and he gets stopped. That's not how it's supposed to be. So I would like to see him use more in pass game to keep defenses honest.
Yeah, I mean, and Todd Monken talked about it. I mean, he wants to use every inch of the field, right? Attack them, make them defend every inch of the field. And, I understand maybe wanting to turn Zay Flowers into kind of like that gadget, toss it to the wide receiver screen behind the line of scrimmage type of player. But, man, get some size out there. Get some size out there. I mean, we saw what it looked like when you have Pat Ricard in front of Derrick Henry, damn near unstoppable, man. And that's how we got, we punched it into the end zone on the first drive of the game, but damn near unstoppable, dude. I mean, so like more of that. And yeah, Todd Monken's got his work cut out for him. I can say that. And it's really like an identity crisis this offense is going through right now. I think with the addition of a Derrick Henry, we have not quite decided exactly how we want to utilize him down the stretch in games, depending on different game scenarios, things like that. And like you said, we got punched in the mouth. And the famous line from Mike Tyson, everybody's got a plan until they get punched in the mouth. And I think we had a plan and we got punched in the mouth and we just kind of reverted back to our old ways in a sense. And that's why you see Lamar Jackson with 41 passing attempts and we only lose by 7 points. So, yeah.
Can I be honest? I don't think it's Todd Monken.
Sure.
I really don't. Because he's having the same problems under different coordinators. I think it's the philosophy of the coach. And I'll leave it at that. I'm not going to say too much, but I think it's the philosophy of the coach. Because what we saw at
Yeah.
Todd Monken in Georgia was a lot different than what we saw now, I thought. And the way he utilizing his tight ends, like we see some of that. But I just feel like I feel like he's the head coach of this. So I'm gonna keep my
That's
eyes on that,
interesting.
honestly. I'm gonna
That is
keep
very
because we
interesting.
had these same problems with Greg Roman. The same, it's like, well, why are we going away from the run? Or why isn't this receiver getting, the targets? And
Yeah.
some things have stayed the same and some things have changed. Just I'm noticing. I'm not gonna say it's fully all the way there. It's only one game. Don't want to overreact like that. But I just have an eye on somebody. I'm not gonna say names, but we know him. Got my
Yeah.
microscope.
We
Oh,
for sure. I do too. I do too. I mean, and if this isn't like one of those wake up call games for, and I'll say John Harbaugh, if it's not a wake up call game for him, like, bro, you just lost back to back times to Andy Reid. You know how bad that looks? Especially for a team that everybody knows with or without John Harbaugh, the Ravens will still be a successfully, and I'll say it, I'll be generous, a mildly successful football team. I think that we can win 10 games without a John Harbaugh, maybe more, right? Just with the makeup and the bones of this team, I really do believe that. Uh, so yeah, it doesn't look good. It doesn't look good at all that you lose back-to-back games to Andy Reid, and in both of those games, you clearly get out coached, right? And a lot of people like to say, like, yeah, I mean, but the coaches are the ones who are on the sidelines. They're not the ones actually in the plays, executing whatnot. But like, bro, no, that, that doesn't work for me. That doesn't work for me. These are the guys who are putting all the chess pieces together at the end of the day. And when they don't look put together and it doesn't look like there's any harmony on offense at any given point, that's an issue. That's an issue. So they again, I'm gonna keep saying it. They've got their work cut out for them. I'm not saying hit the panic button right now. If you're a Ravens fan and you're listening to this, I'm not hitting the panic button by any stretch of the imagination. In fact, I led the episode by saying that there were a lot of positives to take away from this game. I think if anything, you got to fix that offensive line. That offensive line has to get better, and I think that everything else will be predicated off of a healthy, strong offensive line. And we'll have to see. We'll have to see because there were a lot of times where Lamar Jackson did have an open target, and you can tell he wanted to throw it, but there was just a guy right there in his lap, right, and he had to try to do something to escape, and like Lamar Jackson normally does. Uh, Again, curse of the playmaker. Okay, all right.
yeah.
Let me see. We
Speaking
got
of the
Mod
line, real
Roosh in here. What's
quick.
going on, Roosh?
What's going on, Roosh? The thing with the line is like I think our best right guard is on the bench. I think Ben Cleveland should be playing right guard, and
Mm,
I don't know what else. I don't know what's happening. I genuinely
yeah,
don't know what's going on with him. Like he played under Todd Monken at Georgia. He was there when Monken was there, so they have a relationship, and he can't be anywhere. He can't be worse than Falele. Honestly, like that's where I'm at right now. It can't be worse. And I was watching the Lions last night, seeing Kevin Zeitler, and obviously it wasn't an amazing showing, but I'm like, we couldn't pay him, and now we have a makeshift right guard. So I'm just, it just is like it's just kind of frustrating because this team was a handful of plays away from being in the Super Bowl, and
yeah,
and we just you let go of what was what keeping your quarterback upright, and you lose three starters. So I wasn't that worried about the John Simpson, but then trading Moses and then Zeitler stuff. So it's just a lot of question marks, and I bet you in this time in a couple of months we'll probably be in a playoff spot and we'll be a wasted air. But we want to get over that hump. We want to go over the hump of the Chiefs, and if you want to make the Super Bowl, you have to beat them. It's that simple. And I don't want to hear excuses. Well, they're a dynasty. I don't care how many times are the Rams going into New England with Joe Flacco and give them everything, and beat them. I want to see that with this Ravens team with the Chiefs.
yeah. Um, all right, guys. So we want to let me see. I want to bring up here a quote from John Harbaugh today that came out. If I can go ahead and
Oh,
navigate to it really quick. Yeah. So he had a lot to say about Derrick Henry and the run game. I'll just kind of run through it here. So, quote, John Harbaugh says, "We rushed for 185 yards overall, and a lot of that is Lamar Jackson, but that's the formula. The formula is all the guys together, and it's not just the one guy." He says, "We did not bring Derrick Henry to be the guy that gets the ball 30 times a game. He's done that before. That's really not the plan. The plan is Derrick Henry, Lamar Jackson, Mark Andrews, Isaiah Likely, Zay Flowers, Rashad Bateman, and Nelson Aguilar. That's the plan in this offense going forward. Wow, right? Shocking. Another quote, he says, so I think that evaluation of the run game will be best made over the course of the season, and I'm very confident there's going to be games where Derek is going to go for 100 plus or more yards, and you're going to be asking me why Zay Flowers only got 2 catches in that game. He said that's going to happen over the course of the season, and that's going to be good for us. That's where we want to be. We want to be unpredictable that way. Wow. So, it's so funny that I read this quote and he says that's where we want it. That's what we want to be. We want to be unpredictable that way. When we just got done talking about 5 minutes ago, right? How this Ravens offense was super predictable in certain spots in that game. So I don't really know what he gauges as predictable or unpredictable at this point. And I don't know if he just kind of got lost in the weeds of that game a little bit, maybe. But yeah, yeah, I don't know about that one. But when you see this quote, Alex, what do you take away from it?
Yeah, obviously, I don't want him to run for 30 times. Like, I get that. I know Mixon ran for like 28 yesterday. I don't want Derrick Henry to run for that much because, he's 31 years old and you want him healthy for December, January, February, hopefully. So, yeah, but I feel like, 17 to 20 is the sweet spot. You want to get him in a rhythm. And he was hitting in that rhythm in that first drive, I thought. Obviously, he didn't break off a 20 to 25, 30, yard run, but I thought he was finding holes. And then when we get in the red zone and we're 4 or 5, 6 yards out, he punches it in. Surprise, surprise. Yeah. It works. And to hear that, it's just it's frustrating to say the least because it's the same stuff we were upset about last year. We're not getting enough runs, and here we are again. And like you said, predictable. So I don't know if you feel the same as me, but I don't, need him to get 200 yards every game. But there's situations where if you bring him in, you know what he can do. And like you brought up on yesterday, outside runs. Yeah. Very little of them. Very little. A lot of it was inside. So we want to see some of that too. When you bring him in, you don't want to just act like it's up the middle. Our guys against your guys. No, like, we get some creativity. Bounce it outside, let Pat Ricard lead the way. Get him to the second level and let him show that speed. Because once he's in the second level, it's hard to bring him down because how fast he is and how big he is.
Right. And we did not get to see that in this game. And so, that's why I was saying, like you said, the outside runs, just give him some different looks in general, right? Like, I think they tried to pass it to him maybe once or twice, but it got tipped or something like that. The Chiefs are doing a pretty good job at making sure that those passes to the flat into the outside for like screens and stuff like that were kind of getting batted down. They were getting disrupted, that sort of thing. They were doing a pretty good job at that. But yeah, mix it up, give him some give him some different looks. Get a toss, right? Let's get a toss to Derrick Henry. Yeah. I can only imagine, like you said, Pat Ricard leading that convoy. You got maybe like you got your guard pulling. I can only imagine all the things that you can do with Derrick Henry in this
Andrew
offense.
Voorhees pulling. There you go.
Oh yeah. I remember. Yeah, I remember the name. And actually, Voorhees, he didn't play too bad. I saw his PFF grade, and it was like very, very average, very, very average. But first game, I saw some good things. I saw some bad things. So, but yeah, I can only imagine again all the possibilities with Derrick Henry that you can put up on offense. So again, I think it is a Todd Monken thing, and of course John Harbaugh as well. They're gonna have to put their brains together and figure out exactly how they can get this guy rolling. And no, that does not mean 30 carries a game. I totally agree with that. I mean, I think 20 is a good number, but he's a volume runner. So like you said, you have to get this guy in a rhythm. And that's how he's going to break down the defense. I think somebody brought it up here in the chat. Yeah, Edward George says Henry breaks down the defense with his physical, and the Chiefs did not have to worry about that. They got lucky. They did not have to worry about that in the second half. They saw what type of game we were playing, and I'm sure Andy Reid was rejoicing, right? He was like, oh, yes, they're not breaking our guys down physically with Derrick Henry. Like, and we can just kind of pin our ears back, get after Lamar Jackson, and just, force him to throw the ball everywhere. And that's kind of what we were doing. Just trying to stay alive in that game.
Yeah.
So, yeah, man.
Yeah. Well, if you made it this far, drop a like if you enjoy what you're watching. Only if you enjoy it,
Yes.
And if you want to stay, hit that subscribe button, touch it, caress it,
Please.
All that good stuff. Yeah. But yeah. So that's any other Ravens points you have from that game before we move on to Raiders.
I think we've beaten that one up. for the last 40 minutes. I think we're good on that one. So yeah, if you have any questions, comments, concerns about anything we've said so far on this podcast, make sure you leave it down below in the comment section. We do check those frequently, so make sure you leave that down below. And like you said, like the video as well. But we do want to go ahead and get to some around the league stuff, right? So I mean,
Yeah.
NFL Week 1 just passed by, and we've got our reactions, right? There were a lot of things that happened, a lot of stories that came out of yesterday's game. So, Alex, I know you watch all the games, you do the highlight videos and things like that. So, what were some of the biggest things that stood out to you yesterday?
So I'll start off with some Raven stuff. I'll keep it close to our hearts. J.K. Dobbins, I'm so happy for him. Thought he had a really good game.
Mm,
Broke off two big
yeah,
runs. The one thing though is that obviously his speed. It's hard to think it'll ever be the same as it was that Week 17 game in 2020 against the Bengals when he broke that
the
runoff.
Bengals. Yeah,
Very hard to see him getting a 60, 70-yard breakaway touchdown unless it's fully complete blown assignments. But I'm happy for him. He scored a touchdown, made some good plays. That offense, the Chargers offense, looked like a Greg Roman offense. Wasn't surprised. You could tell whose it was. Throwing to the fullback. Very vanilla, but it got them the win. So can't sit here and knock it too much. I was really happy for JK. Honestly, brought a smile to my face seeing him break away those runs. Moving on, though, to let's just stay in our division real quick. All right, every team lost but the Steelers. Yeah. So congrats to the Steelers, 1-0, leading the pack. They are the kings of the North as for now. But looking at the Browns, man, they got absolutely whooped. Deshaun Watson, that contract gets worse and worse every day. And the new report come out today about possible allegation. I don't know too much about it, but it's not looking good for him. Surprise, surprise.
no.
Shouldn't have given him all that money when you had 23, 24 accusers. Yeah, who could have seen this one coming? The Bengals did not look good. I thought it was mainly Zach Taylor. Thought he set Joe Burrow up to failure. Set Joe Burrow up for failure. I'm sorry. I saw all 22. And then the whole Jamar Chase stuff, that's going to be a distraction until it gets done. See, Higgins was out. And then they just shot themselves in the foot. Fumbles. See them fumble at the 1 yard line?
Oh yeah. I mean, the Bengals, man, they're on fraud watch right now. They are on heavy fraud watch, and I've seen kind of
Yeah.
the discourse going around about them today. I mean, I saw somebody say, imagine if Lamar Jackson put up 10 points in a loss against the Patriots in the regular season, like that would not go over well with anybody. So I haven't really seen too much criticism. I've been kind of trying to stay away from the major sports media for obvious reasons. So I haven't really seen
Oh,
too
yeah.
much of the criticism levied towards Joe Burrow and company and Zach Taylor and them. But no, I honestly think that they turn it around. I think that they turn it around. Is week one again? Week one rust. Teams are kind of still trying to find out who they are because again, none of these guys play in the preseason anymore, right? So you can't really just hit the ground running, Lamar included, right? It's hard to hit the ground running when
Yeah.
you have no in game kind of like a experience like for that season. So it is what it is. I think that the Bengals will come back. The Steelers, they won a game with scoring no touchdowns, right? All field goals. Shout out to Chris
Their
Boswell. I
defense,
mean, yeah.
that's legit. I'm not going to lie. Their defense is legit.
Well, I mean, when you have
Offense,
TJ Watt's the quarterback, basically, he's as impactful as a quarterback would be on another team. It's kind of crazy to see. And if
it's
some of those penalties didn't get called on him, or just in general, he would have had an even bigger game, like more sacks. I think there was
yeah.
a strip sack that got called back, I want to say. But yeah, man. I mean, that defense is insane for sure.
Yeah, and then Deshaun Elliott, former Raven, get an interception. Tell you what, Kirk Cousins, I got to give you a freaking handshake for the amount of money you make. Very poor showing. It was bad.
Overrated.
The only positive I'm a Falcons fan is Bijan Robinson. You're looking at Arthur Smith, like, why did you not give him more touches last year? He looked absolutely electric. If anything was to happen, it was going to be number 7's hands. Looked good in the passing game and the rushing game. Obviously, they lost, but there's something to build there with him. But moving on out of the North, gonna have to talk about the Dolphins. Number one, started off very slow against the Jags, and then they turned it around with the whole Tyreek Hill stuff. But they as well started off very slow, rusty, but somehow pulled it
Yeah.
off. Last second field goal. Did you catch that game by any chance?
Yeah, so I was watching Red Zone for the majority of yesterday, so
Okay,
I kind of caught like
man
the
of
highlights from
culture.
everything. So yeah.
God, I love Red Zone. Oh, when
Oh
Red
yeah,
Zone kicked on yesterday, I kid you not, had some wings, had a nice Seagrams in front of me, and I was like,
mhm.
it's back. Football is back. It
Yeah,
was so
yeah.
nice. And like the Ravens weren't playing, so I'm like, you can just sit back and watch anything. But moving on, I'm sorry, the Panthers. Sorry if you're a Panther fan, that was very ugly. I think Bryce Young's confidence is shot to the point where I don't know how you can get it back up. It was
Yeah,
a very
yeah.
poor show.
It's one of the least efficient quarterbacks of yesterday, man, of just week one in general. And that poverty franchise, they're going to need to move on from Bryce Young. Uh, I think a lot of it has to do with his size, man. I mean, the guy's like what 5'9", 5'10", right? Like it's just not really built to play. Um, kind of in this era of football. I mean, like I think like the perfect kind of archetype of quarterback in this era would be kind of like your Josh Allen, Burrow, you know what I mean? And I'm just trying to exclude well, I'd say like maybe like Mahomes as well, even though people say like he's bad built or whatever, but like he's got the body type where he can take hits, you know what I mean? Like he can see over the offensive line, and he can throw the ball. He has the arms to throw the ball anywhere on the field. So I don't really see Bryce Young being being in Carolina as a starter at least for that much longer. But
Yeah,
yeah, go ahead.
yeah, that was bad. I'm gonna keep in. I don't want to take too much time. The Bills and the Cardinals. That
Mhm.
was a good game. Cardinals, went up big 17-3. I, I was very upset. They weren't giving Dalton Kincaid any targets. It felt like, and Josh Allen, like I said, fantastic quarterback, but he goes and jumps in the end zone and putting his body on the line. Like as a football fan, I'm like, this is like, if I'm a Bills fan, I'm kind of holding my breath when he's going to jump in the end zone, getting hit,
Week one.
because you're testing your luck at that point. It's scary, but they got out and got the win, so good for Buffalo. And then Texans with Stephon Diggs, two touchdowns in his
Mm,
debut.
I've been waiting for
Let's see,
this one.
Anthony Richardson though. Anthony Richardson, that one throw he made to Alec Pierce, insane.
Boy,
That was one of the craziest throws I think I've ever seen.
yeah, absolutely. I mean, it just kind of goes to show there's two sides of the Anthony Richardson coin, right? There's the one side where he can make a play like that happen out of nowhere, and it's just like, okay, where the hell did that come from? You know? Or there's the
Yeah,
other side where he's missing routine throws and he just doesn't look like he knows how to read a defense all that well. But again, this is he's another one of those, what do we call? Playmakers, right? He's a playmaker, and he's in the infant stages of being an NFL playmaker, and I do expect him to improve. But and that's the main reason I'm excited for this Indianapolis Colts team, because I do think that he can improve and he can start making a little bit more of these layups that he has, and be a little bit more consistent with his
yeah,
throws, and that'll make like kind of like his ceiling, I think. Well, if he can raise his floor, I think his ceiling is really
yeah,
high. But if he can just raise his floor up a little bit, I think that he's in good shape, and so are the Colts. But the Houston Texans pulling that one out week one, that was a tough game, divisional game. Of course, that's one of their biggest rivals. The Colts are, and CJ Stroud goes out there and delivers two to Stephon Diggs, and Mixon still gets his at the same time. That offense was in harmony, right? For lack of better words, and
man.
they look good. They look good to start off the season 1-0, in facing that type of adversity. Yeah, shout out to the Texans.
Yeah. Nico Collins looking good. Tank Dell, first game back from his I word. Then
Yeah,
yeah, just I think the one thing the Anthony Richardson though, miss 80 Mitchell and two, I think deep ball touchdown possibly. You clean that up, very hard to defend. Just the accuracy. Once you can get that down, scary. Absolutely
yeah,
scary. And you see why his stock rose so much, because his freakish ability and the throws he was making just from the angles. And yeah, I mean, if I'm the Colts fan, I'm excited. As he protects him, if he can protect himself and can stay to get more accurate, dude, he's gonna be unreal, and they're gonna be a threat in the AFC.
yeah,
I think most of the AFC games we went through, obviously the Raiders and Chargers kind of touched on that. There's a fight in that game. That was the best part, I think. Was a fight
mm,
in the end zone. I think ejections as well. I think going on the NFC, Mike McDonald hurt me. Hurt me seeing him in the Seahawks colors. Gosh. But they went out there and they handled their business against the Broncos. So he's 1-0. Good for old Mike. And then Caleb Williams got his win against the Titans when didn't really do all that much. The defense stepped up with that Will Levis meme. We may have got meme of the year in week 1. Dropping to his knees as soon as he threw the pick.
Yeah, that was hilarious. That was hilarious. It's funny because none of the rookie quarterbacks really performed well at all in week 1. Well, I think Jaden Daniels probably performed the best. I think he had like 180 yards or something like that, 2 touchdowns. I don't think he had no interceptions. But they lost pretty handily. They lost by 17 to Baker and the
Yeah.
Bucks, who Baker ironically is now better than Deshaun Watson. Just very, very ironic. But that's neither here nor there. But no, yeah, I mean, I thought that Jaden Daniels had a good showing. Bo Nix was another one who I expected to have a little bit better game than he did, but didn't really see too much from him just yet. But I think there were some things to build upon from his performance. And then you've got, who did I not talk about? Who am I missing here? Who am I missing? Caleb. That's right, Caleb. Yeah, didn't really see much from Caleb at all. Didn't even throw for 100 yards passing, and
No.
I expect to see more in the future. I think, of course, his defense really in special teams won him that game. I think he has them to thank for that. But I mean, it's good. I think it's a net positive for the rookie quarterback, first round pick, a first overall pick, to start off with a win. I think that's kind of what's most
Yeah.
important. They can kind of build upon that instead of trying to build off of a loss and trying to, you know, starting your season already in the hole. So we'll see how the rest of the rookie quarterbacks pan out. But what's your assessment?
I'm right there with you. My thing with Jaden Daniels is Terry McLaurin had one catch. Wasn't really throwing the ball a lot, and I think that might have to be their offense. I mean, he's learning it. It looked it was a tough watch. I'll be honest. I was watching that game. I was rooting for the Manders. I was rooting for Jaden Daniels as an LSU fan. I'm just like, I see what they're trying to do with Dan Quinn. The Dan Quinn hiring still kind of blows my mind. I wasn't expecting to get the head coaching job. It just felt like they're gonna go elsewhere, but it's mainly their defense too. Like their cornerbacks cannot cover. Benjamin St. Just and Emmanuel Forbes are just burnt toast.
Toast. Yeah.
And get Chris Godwin having his way. Mike Evans. It looked like the Tom Brady 2020 Bucks out there. Like the way that Chris Godwin was playing and Mike Evans, like they looked that good. I thought I was watching, I thought we were back in the pandemic again. Knock on wood, just how good they were playing.
Right.
So, speaking of playing, but not playing good, New York Giants and Daniel Jones. That was the one game I think I barely even cared about. Like Sam Darnold, hats off to you. You look good, but the New York Giants are just
abysmal.
a dumpster fire.
Yeah. I mean, them and the Panthers, I think they're right there, neck and neck for worst team in the league right now. Some people might have said the Patriots, but they knocked off the Bengals, so we'll see what they do from there. One other game I wanted to kind of touch on, well, actually two other games before we move on here. Cowboys played really well, came out. I did not expect. I think I picked the Browns to win that. I know I picked the Browns to win that game. I can't remember who you picked though. I want to say you picked the Browns too, but I can't remember. I'm not sure.
I think
Maybe you picked the Cowboys.
I picked Cowboys.
Okay. Yeah. I'll recount them also for on our next episode. We can start off our we can start off our prediction percentages for the year. That'll be fun. But yeah. I mean, I can't say I expected a lot more from the Browns offense just because you really don't know what you're getting out of Deshaun Watson nowadays, right? But you do know what you're getting out of a regular season, especially early regular season Cowboys team. They're going to be flying all over the place. Dak is going to be on point. CeeDee Lamb's going to get his catches, so much to the point where even in the second half, they barely even had to utilize CeeDee Lamb, right? And I know a lot of bettors, including myself, was upset about that. Excuse me, but yeah. So there was that game. And then one that I know you probably want to talk about is the Rams and the Lions last night. I didn't catch this game. I didn't stay up for the whole thing, but I did catch the highlights this morning. But what was your assessment of that one?
I'm not gonna lie to you. I've been neglecting my sleep, so I went to sleep after Cooper Kupp caught the go-ahead touchdown. Went to bed mad. I went to bed very mad. I'm like, there it is. Lions, all hype, all freaking hype, and let Stafford come in, beat them week 1. And I wake up around like 1 or 2 o'clock, open my phone, which I probably shouldn't do, and it says David Montgomery walk-off touchdown. I went back to sleep happy. I'm like, cool. I woke up this morning, was eating breakfast, and watching highlights. I'll tell you what, I was like, my boy Goff drove down the field and did his thing, got him to tie the game. They get the ball, and they go down there and score a touchdown. I was happy. Jameson Williams looked really, really good. This might be his breakout year. 5 catches, 121 yards, and a touchdown.
Yeah.
He looked good. Now, the one thing I'm really upset about is Puka Nacua going down because
right.
I'll be honest, I had the Rams in my top 5 NFC teams.
Oh, wow.
I think I was asked by somebody. Yeah, I had them top 5. I think it was 5. The defense worried me, but if Stafford and Cup can have that, that buddy again, that connection they had in 2021.
Yeah.
And then if you get the healthy Puka, I was really high on them. But Lions got it done. I'm not going to give up on these Rams. Take Kyren Williams off a punt. Let him, the Rams will be fine, but just Kyren Williams should not be taking back punts first and foremost. No.
I agree.
No,
I agree.
But yeah, good game nonetheless.
Yes, definitely a good game.
The first 2 primetime games have been bangers, so we should be in for a dandy tonight, hopefully.
Yeah. And speaking of tonight's game, do you have any plays?
I'm sorry. Yeah, I do all 3 of them: the Thursday, the Friday, and the Sunday night game. They've all been great games. So yeah. As for plays tonight, I like Breece Hall over 20.5 receiving yards. I do like that.
Okay.
And then perhaps Allen Lazard over 18.5. Because Aaron Rodgers liked him in Green Bay. They're back together. I feel like he's going to get over 18 yards or over 19 yards.
Now I'm thinking, because now we know that Christian McCaffrey is not playing in this game.
Yes.
Calf tightness or whatever it is. I think it's a calf strain. So I'm thinking Purdy will be more putting the ball in the air just a little bit more, right?
Yes.
I'm looking at a George Kittle, right? And I don't know exactly where his line is at right now, but I'm curious. I want to look it up and see. But I feel like you could probably get a deal, especially at this point, since the news kind of just broke like an hour ago that McCaffrey's not playing. So what is his receiving yard line at? And would I take that?
The yards or the receptions?
So the yards I see is at 48.5, which is a little steep, right? I feel like it might have gotten bumped up just a little bit in the last hour or two. But what are the receptions at? Let's see. 3.5? I would take the over. I would take the over on George Kittle receptions. Yeah,
I like that.
Yeah, that's going to be my play for the game. I'm going to go over on George Kittle receptions at 3.5. And then you said who were yours again?
I like the Breece Hall over on receiving yards, which is 28.5, and then the Allen Lazard.
Where's he? Over 18.5. Okay.
Yeah, I like those two.
And it's going to be so fascinating. I mean, the reason I'm so excited for this game, so intrigued for this game, just because of the Aaron Rodgers stuff. 2 years we've had to sit back and month after month, week after week, day after day, just listen to everybody in major sports media and just sports media in general talk about Aaron Rodgers, and the hype building up to last season. Oh yeah, he's with the Jets now. It's a totally new look for him. Of course, he gets hurt 4 plays in, so we got to wait a whole nother year to see what Aaron Rodgers is still made of. At what how old is he? Like 40 now? He's like 41, something like that, maybe
40, 41. Yeah,
something like that. So it's going to be so fascinating seeing him on the football field again and seeing what he's able to do. If we're going to see some of those vintage passes, hopefully the guys can step up and make the catches, unlike the Packers were doing in his last stint with him, when he was, kind of yelling at guys like Christian Watson and whatnot, who were rookies at the time, for dropping passes. Yeah, so we'll see what Aaron Rodgers has to offer. Let's see what you guys are throwing here in the chat. The Don, what's going on, Don? Appreciate you for coming through. Just coming in late.
Don?
Yeah, we talked about Raven stuff all the way up till about the 40-minute mark in the episode. So if you want to, rewind, hear our takes on the Chiefs game and what we thought about all of that, make sure you go ahead and rewind for us, Don. We appreciate you for coming through, though. Let me see. Yeah. All right. So we got our Purple Rain parlay in for the night. Right. We've talked about Ravens. We've talked about the rest of the NFL. I think we can go ahead and we can wrap this one. We can take a couple questions. We just said we take a few questions before we get out of here.
Yeah, if they're there.
Um,
Yeah.
I think I saw some questions in here. Well, I know. What was it? Mod Roosh asked one a little while ago. I wanted to bring it back up, but I can't scroll back that far in the chat. He said, "Do you think that it is a good idea to give Lamar Jackson a vet day because he didn't practice today?" I guess he was saying like so early into the season or something like that. What do you think about that?
I definitely think he was just gassed. Definitely, probably in the ice bath after running how many times? 16 carries, I'm sorry. Then
16,
the
yeah.
arm throwing all that time. Yeah, if it was a recoup day, I honestly have no problems with that because he was asked to do a lot that game. And
Yeah.
then he'll probably be back tomorrow. So if he's back tomorrow, I won't have a single problem with it at all because he's there for the meetings, there for the film study, there with the guys, was pictured with the whole photo day stuff. So he'll practice Tuesday, Wednesday, Thursday, Friday. That it's honestly fine by me at that point. Let him rest because he did more than enough on Thursday.
Yeah. Yeah, he did. He did. And that's a good point. I didn't really see it like that until you just brought it up. But yeah, he did so much on Thursday. So yeah, vet day. I mean, year 7. After you just put up almost 400 total yards of offense in Arrowhead and damn near won us the game,
Yeah.
just off of basically his heroics alone. I mean, the stones you got to have to throw that deep ball to Bateman on that play. You know what I mean? Just kind of tosses it up to him. I'm gonna give Bateman a chance. I haven't given Bateman a chance all game, but fuck it. Right now, I'm gonna throw it up to him and see what he's got. And Bateman had it. So yeah, I mean, hats off to Lamar. He played his ass off. I think he deserves a day off, like you said. Let me see. Diwa says, who was the best rookie in week 1? Interesting question here. Let me think. Yeah, really got to think on this
I
one.
like Brian Thomas from the Jags. I thought he had a good game. Beat Ramsey.
Oh, I don't know if we were
Ramsey
talking Ravens or just rookies in general.
Oh, Ravens or NFL? Oh, Ravens?
Yeah, I was thinking Ravens, and
I mean, Wiggins didn't play that
Wiggins
much.
played like 30% of the snaps. Would love to see him out there a little bit more often. Well, no, he says in general. He says in general. Okay, cool.
Okay, cool. Yeah, I like Brian Thomas.
Yeah.
Quinyon Mitchell made some plays for the Eagles, then got beat on the big play. Terrion Arnold wasn't playing bad, but definitely was getting caught up at that PI against the Rams last night.
Man,
it's crazy because they're talking. What's up?
Well, no, I was just gonna say. I mean, Ravens fans aren't gonna like it, but I could go Xavier Worthy, easy. I mean, I think that kid, he really showed that like he is a phenomenal weapon to use. Whether you want to let him run out of the backfield, whether you want to have him catch in space, whether you want to run him deep. I mean, the guy's just got breakaway speed. Like you just he's literally running by guys, and if the Chiefs can continuously find ways to scheme him open and then just kind of let him run in a straight line, like kind of like how I want Zay Flowers to do. Man, that offense is going to be so scary. So scary. When you couple that with Travis Kelce, who I'm sure is going to heat up as the season goes on, Rashee Rice, who's got sure hands, it's tough, man. It's tough. But I'd have to go with Xavier Worthy. Yeah.
You know what? It's hard to say no to 2 touchdowns. It's hard to say no to that. Really hard to say no to that. I think so. Yeah. I'll go Xavier Worthy. I agree with you. Yeah, boss. Thanks, Buffalo, for giving them Worthy. You know what? Thanks, Buffalo, for them getting Mahomes as well.
Yeah, we thank a lot of teams for that.
Because I think Buffalo traded with them to get up and get him. So, and now Buffalo can't even beat them in the playoffs. Neither can we.
Yeah.
Crazy.
Let me see. Run on third. Let me see. Steve-O says, have the Ravens ever run on 3rd and 5 or more? I mean, yeah, for sure. Okay.
Boss, hate watching.
We're gonna go ahead and leave it there. Hate watching Ayuk. Yeah, it's gonna be a fun game, man. What's it starting in like 15 minutes, 14 minutes? Yeah. We're gonna go ahead and leave it there for this episode 261 of the Purple
Joe Buck
Rain podcast. Yeah, I mean, it's been a great one, guys. I mean, The season is back. Season 4 of the Purple Rain podcast is here. This is our first review episode. Again, if you're just joining us and you didn't get to hear us talk all about the Ravens game, make sure you hit that rewind. We talked about it from pretty much about 5 minutes in to 40 minutes in. So that's 35 minutes worth of just us talking about the Ravens and the Chiefs. So if you missed that, make sure you rewind. If you did stay with us, throughout the whole episode, thank you so much for joining us here. Make sure you follow us on Instagram at the Purple Rain Podcast, like you see down below. By the way, we are still streaming on Instagram. We were live on Instagram, so shout out to everybody who watched live on Instagram. Hello, hello, hello. You can also go on manscaped.com. You guys know the drill. Manscaped.com. Save yourself 20% off plus the free international shipping. We're gonna have some new products coming here for you soon, so we'll be able to show you guys those live on camera on the Purple Rain podcast. You can follow me on Twitter or Instagram at Sutton Def. You can follow this guy over here on Twitter at simplyas10 or on Instagram at simplyas10.prod. And pretty much anywhere you can find him at simplyas10. Go follow his TikTok. Follow that TikTok as well. Those are bangers. There's bangers coming out there. So yeah, this has been episode 261. Thank you guys from the bottom of my heart. And with that being said, I'm gonna let my guy Alex take us out.
Put the words out of my mouth. Yes, thank you all for coming through this amazing episode 261. We'll see you on Thursday for that preview episode against the Las Vegas Raiders. As always, stay positive, test negative.
Yeah, and never, ever, ever forget, even on the rainiest of days, to call God. It's been episode 261 of the Purple Rain Podcast. We're going to catch you guys in the next one.